Hello, welcome to today's how-to video. This one's almost done with my Malcador. I wanted to show you the last little trick of this particular type of weathering. I've already done the staining and the dirt effects, the oil effects, and the dust on the side. Now I'm going to go caked on mud, but I'm going to use a slightly different material than many typically use. A lot of people use pigments and what have you, which is perfectly fine, but that's a little more expensive than I'm willing to go for. So I have a slightly different cheat for this. I'd like to show you first, before we talk about materials and all, what we're trying to achieve here. Let me zoom in real close here. Okay, on the bottom of the tank itself, well, let's see, back this up just a bit, get some good. See if there we go. Alright, you see the mud caked on. Okay, now this is dried mud. Okay, it's not wet. If you wanted to, you could put a little bit more mud on it and actually paint it with a gloss varnish to give it a nice effect. Just learned that this week from the gloss varnish trick. Didn't even think about a wet mud from a fellow modeler who did a real good job on one of his tanks. So anyway, there's the mud effect. Now this particular tank's a really good one for that because it has a real nice ledge on the edge here to catch all this mud. So as it went through, it just kind of caked on and left on the side there. So I'm going to show you a simple method of doing this. The key to it is really, there's two parts. You're going to need some white glue, or like carpenter's glue, simple wood glue or white glue, either way. You're going to want it thin though. And then dirt. Not just any dirt though, it has to be clay, alright? Clay soil. Now I happen to be lucky enough that where my house is, I've got a lot of clay soil. And it's real fine, very, very annoying. Dries really, really hard, which is important when you're trying to do modeling. And also, of course, it's a silt or clay type of a material, it really is smooth once you do get it wet. It's a natural color already, don't need to do any fancy coloration, and it's cheap. Matter of fact, it's free. Okay, unless you count whatever you pay for rent or mortgage on your property. But it's really, this is a very, very simple thing to do. So the first thing you're going to do is put some of your white glue, PVA, whether it's, again, carpenter's glue or white glue, doesn't really matter. You're going to put a small amount in, I put it in a little measuring cup. Okay. The next step is you actually need to get some of the clay and just basically spoon it in there. So, and you're going to mix it up. It's going to basically become mud. I mean, that's exactly what it's going to be. And you want it to be very thick. Your consistency is going to vary. Now here it's a very soupy consistency. If I were to use this, it would be a very thin, muddy coat on the side of the vehicle, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm looking for more of a caked on, really sticky mud. And so I'm going to add this in, make it a little bit thicker. I almost want it to be, yeah, there we go. See how it kind of cakes up? That's what I want to do. I want that effect. It's got to have some body to it. Okay. Yeah, I actually want a little bit more, because see, it's kind of smooth still. Again, there's nothing wrong. It's not the effect I'm looking for. I want to go for that nice caked on look. So keep going until you get a consistency of mud, I guess. Like, I don't know how best to describe this, but you can see there, it's kind of holds its shape. It's kind of goopy. Okay, all right, and that's key. All right, so now I'm going to work on this side of the tank, and very, very simple process. You just pick some up. You know, it's sitting on there, and just scrape it onto the model. You can just work it in there. Remember, it doesn't need to be neat. Matter of fact, it shouldn't be neat. And you want to work it up. The leading edge is the key here, okay? Because this is going to be the part that gets sunk into the mud first. And it should be uneven across the entire body. Now, since you're using a PVA type glue, you are actually, it's going to stick to the model. So you make sure you've got a nice solid flat finish on your model already. Put a little bit more there. Let's put some more here. So yeah, very, very simple. Putting it down, and it's very you kind of go with the flow, putting some mud down wherever you think it would accumulate. Now I went ahead and unfortunately I got excited when I started doing this model. I wanted to show you the one side finish before I started showing you out in the model. I actually went a little too far and started doing more of the back. So here is there. Okay. Okay. And cake on again. It's caked on mud, so let it be caked on. Because it's so thick, it has a lot of body to it, it stands up real nice. Okay. And right now it's wet, it has that gloss look. If you want it to be that way, you will have to hit it with a gloss varnish afterward. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, now on the back, this is important because the mud that gets picked up by the tracks is going to end up working its way above, and it's going to be deposited on the back surfaces here. It will also be deposited and collect up here where the track might enter next to a couple different, like the side rails or whatever. So it'll get scraped off and just kind of accumulate there on the corner. So that's what I've done in this case. And if you want, you can just kind of cake it in here. Since it hasn't, the treads haven't made their way up completely yet, you can just cake it in there. Set this down a bit here. That's really it. Alright, as you go through, make sure you haven't messed any parts up, because I think I just picked up some mud here. I think it's from this spot here. Now if you feel like you need to, you think it's too dry, you can always grab some water and just put some water on it toward the back. It'll help dilute a little bit, especially the PVA near the back, near the surface of the paints, and varnish, and there you go. Alright, so I'm just going to leave that to dry, and I'll be back as soon as that's done. Okay? Hang on a little bit. Alright, it's almost dry. Now, that was about 10 minutes, I think, or so. Again, it doesn't take very long. You still don't want to let it completely dry before you give it a final varnish coat. I'm going to use Dull Coat because, again, I'm looking for the dry mud effect. But you could hit it with, I think I would still hit it with a Dull Coat and then go over it with a gloss varnish, paint it on with a brush to give it that wet look. So let's take a closer look at the way this turned out. Okay, As you can see, it's kind of caked on there. A little bit more on the front. Kind of works its way in the back. It's a little spotty. It's not evenly applied. Not supposed to be. You can see it's kind of picked up on the tracks, going up to the top, and then kind of cakes up on where it enters that side guardrail. So it works really, really well. So you actually are making mud effects using mud, but the key really is the clay. It really needs to be a fine clay, that one that you could actually almost make things out of once you wet it. Like it's not really modeling clay, but you could make marbles or little sculptures, little statues out of it. Nice, hard, solid, because what's going to happen is it's going to be hard and solid. The PVA will help bind it that much stronger and bind it to the model itself. Now, the one thing you're going to want to do, this particular model, the mud is caked up on that lip, that lower edge, but a lot of tanks actually have the treads themselves, and so I want to show you something real quick on this Battle Fortress. I did the same kind of effect on it using my my Orca here. But notice in the back on this is a deal you're going to really want to pay attention to as the mud gets picked up on the treads. It's going to accumulate, on the lower inside the treads, okay, and it really will pick up on the wheels, so you can actually smear it on the entire surface, outside edge of the wheel. I didn't do that on this particular one, but the key is you're going to want to put the dirt, cake it on all the way up to this vertical part here. You can bring it up here as well, but you don't want to go much beyond that, because with the way the links are going to be bending and turning around, the mud is usually going to end up falling off at that point. So it will stay caked up here, but here it might start falling off. So you can kind of give that look by weighting the mud in the back part of the tread as opposed to up in the front. By the time it travels all the way up through all the vibrations and such, the mud will probably fall off. You probably put a little bit up front, but most of it will be caked up toward the rear. Alright, so that's how you use real clay mud to do mud effects. Alright, hope you enjoyed that. Hope it kind of gave you a completely different look on weathering, and hope you enjoyed it. Do share, like, and subscribe. Kind of leave your comments below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.